Shalom, shalom. Call Allah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kodash, Shani Kabad, and Gadawala Requab, the Quangim Nawa, Washalayakim Nawa, and that's double honors to our elders and apostles of Great Millstone, and Shalom, Wabarakim, Labakam, Shayasharala, and that's peace and blessings to the elect of Israel, and as always, to the confusion of faces, meaning those who look like the other nations, but whose spirits resonate with the truth and that believe and have faith in Yahweh, the Heavenly Father, and Yahweh Shai, the only begotten Son. So to all you brothers out there, no matter how you look, pushing this word in truth and in sincerity, I want to say peace and blessings to you all. So all I want to do, Lord willing, is get through Ezekiel chapter 1, verses 5 through 18. All right? I just wanted to bring out more, not more, but I just wanted to bring out the understanding of the appearance of these angels, of the angels and the chariots. All right. And, through the Spirit, I'm going to just run swiftly through this because I've been trying to make this video. This is probably my 5th or 6th time recording it. And I just want to make sure that it gets out there and the edification is, brought forth into light for the elect out there. So I'm going to run through this briefly, Lord willing. You brothers and sisters out there are edified, okay? This is Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 5. It says, "Also out of the midst thereof came the likeness of 4 living creatures." These 4 living creatures are referring to angels. "And this was their appearance. They had the likeness of a man. And every one had 4 faces." Now these 4 faces are referring to the different characteristics of the angels. And it's going to go more into it in verse 10. Okay? So when everyone had 4 faces, and everyone had 4 wings, and their feet were straight feet, and the sole of their feet was like the sole of a calf's foot. And what is the sole of a calf's foot? Well, it's cloven footed. So really quickly, I just want to jump over here. Okay? I'm going to jump over here. I'll come back to that later. And as you can see, all I did was type into Google Images, cloven-footed men's boots, because basically these angels were wearing some kind of shoes or boots that were cloven-footed like a calf's foot. So the best example that I could find is this right here that didn't look too feminine, okay? So this is basically what the angels were wearing, okay? So boots that were basically cloven-footed like a calf's foot. All right. So we're going to read that again. Verse 7. "And their feet were straight feet, and the sole of their feet was like the sole of a calf's foot, and they sparkled like the color of burnished brass." Okay, what is brass? Brass is a derivative of brown. So basically these angels were a certain shade, more than likely a dark shade of brown. Now verse 8 says, "And they had the hands, and they had the hands of a man under their wings on their 4 sides, and they 4 had their faces and their wings. Their wings were joined one to another. They turned not when they went." Okay, they turned not when they went. They went every one straight forward. What does that mean? Basically, these angels, when they flew, they hovered. Okay, no need to turn, they just hovered. All right, and a good example of this is the book of Genesis chapter 1. And we'll start reading at verse 1. It says, "In the beginning the Elohim created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void. And darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of the Elohim moved upon the face of the waters." So we're going to go into 2 words right here. It says, "and the Spirit of God," but we know that's Elohim because when we click on it, H430, for the word God in English, we have the Hebrew word Elohim. So this isn't talking about the Heavenly Father, the Most High Yahweh. This is talking about what? The Elohim, which are rulers, judges, divine ones, angels, or gods. Okay? So now when we go back, it says, "And the Spirit of the Alahayim moved upon the face of the waters. So for the word moved, and this is the point, we have the Hebrew word rahap. So rahap for moved, and it says what? Right here is a point. It says to hover. Okay, I highlighted it. Hopefully you can see that. So to hover. And that's the point right there. So now when we jump back to Ezekiel chapter 1, and where were we at? Verse 9, it says, their wings were joined one to another. They turned not when they went. They went every one straight forward. So basically they hovered. Right? Now verse 10. As for the likeness of their faces, going more into verse, what was that? 6, right? As for the likeness of their faces, they four had the face of a man. The face of a man represents the characteristic of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And the face of a lion on the right side, the face of a lion represents the characteristic of courage. And they four had the face of an ox on the left side, which represents strength. They four also had the face of an eagle, which represents flight. Okay? Verse 11. Thus were their faces, and their wings were stretched upward. 2 wings of every one were joined one to another, and 2 covered their bodies. And they went every one straight forward, right? They hovered. Whither the Spirit was to go, they went, and they turned not when they went. Right? Now verse 13. As for the likeness of the living creatures, their appearance was like burning coals of fire. So we have an analogy here. Their appearance was like burning coals of fire, which is bright, right? And like, another analogy, and like the appearance of lamps. Okay, which once again, a lamp is bright. So we understand that this to be a metaphor because this is referring to the wisdom that these angels had. We go to the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 8, verse 1. It says, who is as the wise man? And who knoweth the interpretation of a thing? A man's wisdom maketh his face to shine. When your face is shining, then it's bright, right? And the boldness of his face shall be changed. So a man's wisdom maketh his face to shine. So now let's go back. Ezekiel chapter 1 and verse 13. As for the likeness of the living creatures, their appearance was like burning coals of fire, and like the appearance of lamps. Why? Because wisdom maketh a man's face to shine. So this is a metaphor referring to the wisdom that these angels had from Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, of course. So it goes on to read, it went up and down among the living creatures, and the fire was bright, and out of the fire went forth lightning. So now we're getting into the actual chariots. Verse 14. And the living creatures ran and returned as the appearance of a flash of lightning. And this is referring to how quick or how fast rather these angels, or these chariots are, because you can even go on YouTube and you can just type in chariot sightings or viewings of chariots, and you got to weed through the bad ones, but you can actually find real I'll say video footage of people who captured chariots. And if you search diligently, you can find a few actually slowed down. Okay? And you can actually see the chariots moving quick, moving fast, like a flash of lightning. Okay? Now verse 15 says, now as I beheld the living creatures, behold, one wheel. So basically this wheel is a metaphor for a chariot. It says, behold, one wheel upon the earth by the living creatures with his 4 faces. The appearance of the wheels, or the chariots of the Lord, which the world calls UFOs, the appearance of the wheels and their work was like unto the color of a beryl, which is the color of green. And they 4 had one likeness, and their appearance and their work was as it were a wheel in the middle of a wheel. So let's deal with that really quickly. Okay, a wheel in the middle of a wheel. So I went to Google Images once again, typed in wheel in a wheel, and you can actually see it says Ezekiel's wheel right here. And this is a good depiction. It's a good picture, you know. A wheel in the middle of a wheel. That's good. You know, this is good. Wheel in a wheel. And this is also, I thought it was pretty tough too. A wheel in the middle of a wheel. Okay. So there we go. That's verse 16, right? As it were a wheel in the middle of a wheel. Verse 17 says, when they went upon their four sides, and they turned not when they went, because they hovered, right? As for their rings, so the rings of these wheels, or the rings of the chariots, they were so high that they were dreadful, and their rings were full of eyes round about them four. So first, let's deal with understanding what the rings are talking about. So we're going to go into the Hebrew once again, and it says, and here we go, that they were dreadful, and their rings. So for the English word rings, we have the Hebrew word gab. And we're going to come down to outline of biblical usage, and we're going to weed through all the, the mess. And it says convex surface, no. Back, no. Mound, no. Boss, no. Bulwarks, brow, or F, which says rim of a wheel. So remember, we have a wheel in the middle of a wheel. So this is talking about the rim of the chariot, or basically the outside of that wheel or of that chariot. All right. So now what we're going to do is jump back, because it says, and their rings were full of eyes. So their gob, or the rings, or the rims of the chariots were full of eyes. Now these, long story short, basically the eyes are getting into the actual windows of these chariots. So I thought this was a great picture right here, because I'm gonna zoom in. Hopefully you brothers and sisters can see this, but as you can see, hopefully through the spirit, that this is a wheel in a wheel, and then you have these lights on the rims or the rings of the chariot, of the wheel, right? And so, like I said, they look like lights, but they can also be broken down for the emphasis or edification, rather, of verse 18, as the eyes or windows of the chariots that are on the rings or the rims of the wheel, or the rim of the wheel. So, okay, I thought that was a good picture. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. All right. Yeah, and that's the point right there. So I just wanted to bring that out. And through the Spirit, I want to bring out Matthew 24, verse 30. And I want to close with this. 24, verse 30. Because, the angels and the chariots are coming to destroy Babylon the Great, which is America, Israel, and a few other parts of the world. But they're also coming, secondly, to deliver the Lord's elect out of the nation of Israel. So this is Matthew 24, verses 30 and 31. It says, verse 30, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. That's Yahushua. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. So the Son of Man coming in clouds, the word clouds right here is a metaphor for the chariots, okay? Now, verse 31 is the point. And he, meaning Yahushua, shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Okay? So once again, I just wanted to bring out more edification, or not more edification, but just bring it out for anybody out there who didn't have the understanding of the scriptures, and through the spirit of of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, our elders and apostles have broken down this knowledge, and we can just, share it amongst the brothers. We can serve one another. So I pray that this was edifying. And once again, I want to give all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Kodash. Double honors to our elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well, in peace and blessings to the elect. Shalom.